Coming up on Network Africa, Uganda accuses the U.S. of meddling in its elections. Central African Republic Supreme Court confirms President Touadera's re-election. Plus, dozens of Mozambican students test positive for COVID-19. Hello and welcome to the program, everyone. I'm Layo Adegoke. We begin in Uganda, where the government is accusing the U.S. of trying to subvert its elections. Now, this comes after the U.S. ambassador to Uganda, Natalie Brown, was stopped from visiting opposition leader Robert Kyagulanyi, popularly known as Bobi Wine, at his home in the capital, Kampala. The U.S. State Department had on Monday called for an independent, credible, impartial and thorough investigations into what many credible reports of irregularities in Uganda's general elections. Well, we have joining us now on the program Halima Atumani, a Ugandan journalist, to give us more updates on this story. Hello, Halima. Thank you for speaking to us on the program. Now, how is the government reacting to the U.S. accusation that the Ugandan election was marred by irregularities?
Thank you for having me. Well, if you remember that just a few days before the elections, the U.S. State Department did issue a statement saying that they were not going to monitor the elections. Reason being, just even before the elections during the campaign period, there were already loads of violence. They anticipated irregularities in the elections, and that actually happened. So when the U.S. submitted their request to monitor the elections or to observe the elections, the Electoral Commission only let in 15% of the observers that they had requested. And I know the US wanted about 100%. So they said we will not, because 75% of our observers have been denied accreditation to observe the elections. Now, I think from that time, I think there's been some kind of bad blood growing and brewing between these two countries. On yesterday, which was the 18th, we all know that Robert Kyagulanyi, who is the National Unity Party platform leader, has been under house detention for 5 days now. On Saturday, as journalists, we actually also tried to access his home, but once we got onto some corner leading to his gate, we just saw about 12, 15 police officers with live ammunition coming at us. So we walked off, and this was not the end. In there, we also saw one of the legislators called Francis Zake. So when he came to the point where the police had set up a roadblock, they let him through, and he'd come with another legislator. The other female legislator was let to go, was told not to go, and then Francis Zake was let in. As we were standing waiting to see what transpired, we saw a police holding van pass us very fast with someone screaming at the back of the police holding van, and we knew that was him. So from that time, that's when we got to know that, you know what, no one is going to be allowed. His lawyers also tried to access him yesterday. It was the same thing. They were blocked. And then came the U.S. diplomat, who people thought, okay, finally it's a U.S. diplomat. Maybe they'll listen to her. And she also got there, and she was blocked. When I was speaking to the government spokesperson today, and this is what he told me, because in the statement by the U.S. Department, they say that she had gone to visit Kyagulanyi to check on his health and welfare. According to the government spokesperson, he says, well, Natalie is neither social nor medical personnel who does not qualify to check on anybody's health or welfare. And according to Ofono Pondo, who is the Uganda government spokesperson, he says that according to him, he claims that they know that Ambassador Natalie and the American system here, through their donor aid, which is USAID, has been funding Bobi Wine and other outfits in clear disregard of diplomatic norms, with the main objective to destabilize the government of Uganda and cause regime change outside the constitutional framework. And this is what we are where we've reached right now.
Now, speaking of this house detention, what is the government saying is their reason for this, for preventing Bobby Wine from leaving his house?
Again, yesterday I raised the same issue with the police spokesperson and the UPDF spokesperson, and their response to me was that they have decided that the military and the police are going to stay in every area that they consider a trouble hotspot. So according to them, Bobby Wine's home is currently still one of the trouble hotspots, and they will not leave until they are sure that there is not going to be any trouble anymore.
All right, then. Thank you so much, Ugandan journalist Halima Atumani. Thank you for your reporting.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Well, like we have said, Ugandan soldiers on Monday blocked the U.S. ambassador from visiting the home of opposition presidential candidate Bobby Wine. Bobby Wine finished second in last week's election, but he says he is rejecting the results with the contempt they deserve. A statement from the U.S. Embassy said the purpose of Ambassador Nathalie Brown's visit was to check on Mr. Kyagulanyi's health and safety, given that he's effectively been unable to leave his home with security forces surrounding his residence. The statement also says the statement is also calling on the Ugandan government to respect their citizens' human rights and fundamental freedoms, including the freedom of expression, freedom of assembly, and freedom of the press as provided for in Uganda's own constitution. Well, in the meantime, Bobby Wine's lawyers are seeking a court order to release him from the house detention.
We have filed an application for habeas corpus from election day, that was in the night of 14th. Honorable Kyagulanyi Ssentamu, together with his wife and people at his home, have been detained in their own home by security agencies, including officials of UPDF and the Uganda Police Force. So in our communication with him on phone, we agreed that we filed for this application for habeas corpus so that he can be allowed to have and enjoy his liberty with his family. Right now we are before Justice Michael Erubu, and he has given us Thursday, 21st of January at 10 a.m. for the hearing of the application for habeas corpus. And I think when we were coming to file this application, we were informed by the security agencies that some of us, probably two of us, can access Kyagulanyi as lawyers, which we think we will not do as of now, because our preoccupation now is his personal liberty.
The 2021 electoral process has reduced Ugandans to helplessness, and the fear and the Museveni's action obviously seek to legitimize an illegal and a flawed electoral process.
Well, international affairs analyst Calvin Dack joins us live from Washington, D.C. for more analysis on this story. Hello, Calvin. Thank you for speaking to us.
How are you doing?
I'm fine, thank you. Now, what do you make of this statement from the U.S. Embassy, considering what's been playing out in the United States since November, when President Donald Trump lost the election?
Well, I think it points out two very important things. First of all, the most important is the things that the United States Embassy was talking about, the concerns over the credibility of the elections in Uganda, the safety of the opposition candidate. All of those things are valid. That's point one. Point two is this is one of the reasons why here in the United States, many people have really lamented what has happened with President Trump and his manipulation and incitement to riot, because we understand that this not only affects us here, but it affects the role that we're able to play all around the world. And unfortunately, in this situation, it does take away from U.S. credibility. But that doesn't change the first point, that credibility needs to be had for the people of Uganda for the election, and the opposition candidate, Bobby Wine, needs to be protected.
Well, you know, the Ugandan government is accusing the U.S. now of trying to subvert the election, but the U.S. says it has credible reports of irregularities in, you know, Uganda's general election. How do you think the U.S. government, especially this incoming Biden administration, you know, reacts to this?
Well, first of all, I believe that at noon tomorrow, January 20th, what will happen as far as from the United States side will be great. and that is we will begin to restore our credibility abroad to have a president that does not subvert democracy here at home and respects it abroad. Now, when it comes to what the Biden administration will do, I can't make any promises, and I don't think that the expectation should be high. One, because of the domestic challenges we're facing, and two, the United States has not done a really good job, as they could have through Democrat and Republican administrations, of really, really insisting on the importance of democracy and free and fair elections abroad, particularly on the African continent. So I have hopes that our credibility will be prepared, but I don't know if there's anything the Biden administration will do in the beginning to solve this very immediate situation.
All right, then. Thank you so much, International Affairs Analyst Calvin Dark. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Moving on to the Central African Republic, where the highest court has confirmed the re-election of President Faustin Archange Touadera while rejecting his rival's objections. 10 of Mr. Touadera's challengers say the election should be rerun, citing low turnout due to violence and alleged irregularities, but the Constitutional Court rejected those arguments, declaring Touadera the winner with 53.16% of the vote. It did, however, reject ballots from 2 towns because of irregularities, reducing the president's percentage from the 53.9% declared by the Electoral Commission earlier this month. Now, the weeks before and after the December 27th election have been marred by a rebel offensive against major cities. The rebels attacked the capital Bangui last week before being repelled by the army and UN peacekeepers. Meanwhile, the United Nations says 2 peacekeepers, one from Gabon and one from Morocco, have been killed in a rebel ambush outside the southern city of Bangassou in the Central African Republic. In all, 7 peacekeepers have been killed since the rebels launched their offensive last month. According to the United Nations, the fighting has forced nearly 60,000 people to flee the country, compounding an already dire refugee crisis.
And a quick update from the Central African Republic, where sadly we have to announce that 2 United Nations peacekeepers lost their lives today. This happened on the Bangassou-Gambo axis after peacekeepers came under fire. We should have more details for you shortly, including a statement from the Secretary General. The mission also reported in a statement that combatants had left the city of Bangassou in Mbomu Prefecture on Friday, and that UN peacekeepers are now fully in control of that city. The mission also reports that it escorted a convoy of 30 commercial vehicles from Bangui to the border with Cameroon yesterday. That's the first free movement of vehicles since the free movement of vehicles was halted on December 19th due to a security situation along that route.
The Electoral Board in Ethiopia has deregistered the former ruling party of Tigray State, the Tigray People's Liberation Front, TPLF. Now, this follows the party's decision to defy a nationwide ban on elections and involvement in a conflict against federal troops. TPLF leaders were ousted from power in November in a military operation. The electoral body has demanded an explanation from 3 other Tigray political parties that took part in the TPLF-organized regional elections in September. The body also cancelled the registration of the Coalition for Unity and Democracy Party. Still ahead on Network Africa. We'll bring you a breathtaking view of ice and snow blanketing the Sahara Desert. Please stay with us. Thanks for staying with us. Education authorities in Mozambique's capital, Maputo, say 40 students have tested positive for COVID-19. The test results came back last week but were announced on Monday by the Provincial Education Director, Diolinda Kosa. Of the 40 students, 23 of them study at Casa do Giato Reception Center and had returned home during the festive season. The infected students are in institutional and home isolation. Now, the governor of Maputo province, Julio Parac, urged schools to intensify enforcement of public health measures in order to reverse the situation. He says wearing of face masks, social distancing, and hand washing are mandatory. Scientists in South Africa say previous infection with the coronavirus may offer less protection against the new variant first identified in the country, although they hope that vaccines will still work against it. Studies also found that the new variant binds more strongly and readily to human cells, and that helps to explain why it seems to be spreading around 50% quicker than previous versions, according to the scientists. Now, the 501Y.V2 variant was identified by South African genomics experts late last year. It has been the main driver of a second wave of national COVID-19 infections, which hit a new daily peak above 21,000 cases earlier this month.
Well, we have reasons to be concerned because it seems like the virus has found a way to escape from previous antibodies. Well, the world has underestimated this virus. This virus can evolve, it can adapt.
Our immune systems are extraordinarily clever. So although there may be small changes in the virus, and therefore the antibodies may not be binding as well, there may be compensation through other arms of the immune system that allow the vaccines to still work.
The United Nations says the violence in Sudan's Darfur region has led to the displacement of nearly 50,000 people. Eyewitness videos filmed on Monday show houses burnt to the ground and one still on fire in Sudan's West Darfur following a militia attacks over the weekend that left at least 129 people dead and almost 200 wounded. The videos, said to have been filmed in ALGERIA, showed multiple houses burnt and charred debris. The attacks followed a fight reported by both local organizations and residents in which a member of the Masalit tribe killed a man from an Arab tribe. Violence has increased in Darfur in recent months and 2 weeks after UN peacekeepers stopped patrolling the region ahead of a full withdrawal. In the meantime, security agencies in Nigeria and their counterparts in the Republic of Cameroon have agreed to increase patrol along the borders of both countries to tackle the problems of kidnapping and other criminal activities. This was reached during a joint security meeting of the government of both countries held in Bascheo, Council of Northern Cameroon.
The journey from Yola to Bascheo in Cameroon takes about 5 hours driving through this dusty road. The Nigeria delegation arrived at border town and are received by their Cameroonian counterparts. The COVID-19 protocol is being adhered to while accessing the venue of the meetings. Insecurity has been a major concern to border communities of Nigeria and the Republic of Cameroon, as kidnappings, armed banditry, insurgency, and other cross-border crimes has been on the rise.
95% of my people in Maiha and the environs, they sleep outside their houses for the past 3-4 months. It is unbearable. Ransom, every day ransom, every week ransom, every month ransom. We are tired of paying ransom in Maiha. We are under siege. Total siege, 37 kidnappings in the last 4 months.
While the representative from Basheo, the border town in Cameroon, highlights some of the decisions arrived at during the first meeting in 2020, the Adamawa State delegation reveals that an approval has been given for the creation of security camps along the border.
Strengthening collaboration between the Nigerian forces and a member of the Committee Vigilance by means of foreign intelligence. Increase patrol of the Nigerian mountain used as enrichment for criminals like the Congolese mountain. Increase patrols along the border.
The sharing of information across border for security operation and traditional leaders. The local government of Maya and the Cameroon border communities have a good rapport, especially in the aspect of sharing relevant information that are related to promotion of security, that the Cameroonian security agents has also handed over some Nigerian citizens who commit crime in the Cameroon Republic for appropriate disciplinary action in Nigeria and vice versa.
Though the resolutions reached in this meeting is not made public, security officers from both sides of the divide are expected to meet on a later date to build on the decision of this joint security meeting.
Well, protests are still ongoing in Tunisia, with hundreds of youths clashing with police in cities across the country. In the center of the capital, Tunis, up to 300 protesters clashed with police in the capital's Etihopia district, throwing stones and gasoline bombs in the capital, even as security forces used tear gas and water cannons to try to quell the unrest. These rioting and protests have followed the 10th anniversary of a revolution that brought democracy but few material gains for most Tunisians, with anger growing at chronic joblessness and poor state services. In the meantime, more than 600 protesters have been arrested, consisting of mainly young demonstrators. And we end the program with this fascinating sight in Algeria, where snow blankets the sand in the Sahara Desert after temperatures fall below zero. Now, video shows a light layer of ice on the sands in Ain Sefra, Algeria, as temperatures fell below -3 degrees Celsius. Just look at that. Ice and snow seen on desert sands in the small town in Nama province. Now, what makes this more interesting is because the town has experienced snow only 3 other times in 42 years. First in 1979, then 2017, and then 2018. The year 2017 also saw a blizzard dumping snow up to 1 meter thick in Ain Sefra.
أصدقاء صفحة نزاعي اللي ما يقدروش يتنقلوا المكان، ها هو المكان من العين الصفراء. شوفوا المشهد، شوفوا الصقيع.
Well, that is just amazing. Thank you for watching the program today. You can catch today's episode again and other episodes of the show on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/channelsweb. I'm Layo Adegoke. Bye for now.